Welcome to Drivetime Exchange. As rubber hits the road, hard talk meets great music. Monday to Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. on Nett Radio, taking you above and beyond.
This is a story, ladies and gentlemen, about two lovely white women traveling all the way to Africa. Found themselves deep in the heart of the Baluba in the Congo. In the hands of my big brother, Oomba. Had it been me, I would have taken them back to their husband. But brother was hungry. White women traveling through Africa find themselves in the hands of a cannibal headhunter. He cook up one and he eat one raw. The taste so good he wanted more. Me want more. I envy the Congo man. I wish it was me. I want to shake his hand. He eat until his stomach upset, and I never eat a white meat yet.
Well, everybody, let's say a very special good day to you. And of course, thank you very much for tuning in and being here on New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean as we take you above and beyond. Welcome to the Drive Time Exchange as we take you home in fine style. And of course, inside of this session, we are spearheaded by none other than journalist extraordinaire himself, Mr. Tony Fraser. Tony, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon to you, Charles. How has the day gone so far?
It has been a pretty decent day, a lot better than yesterday.
Yes. Actually, we had a bad day yesterday afternoon.
Yes.
In that we lacked power, and therefore we couldn't put on the show. But nevertheless, we're going to come back with that show on Thursday. And that has to deal with the CPEP workers and the contracts and all of that. We're going to talk about that another time. Today and tomorrow, however, we are recognizing a real national hero and somebody that everybody in Trinidad and Tobago knows and should know. Everybody across the Caribbean and way over North America and beyond all of that. And he is none other than Francisco Slinger, the mighty Sparrow. We know him as Calypsonian, who came on the scene many years ago, 69 years ago, if my arithmetic is correct. Came on the scene in a big way. I am sure that he was singing before 1956, but 1956 he made his big entry into the world of Calypso. So we want to reflect on the man's, he's 90, he will be 90 years old tomorrow. So what we are doing is that today and tomorrow we are playing some of the music and talking about the man and his contributions, his calypsos, his contribution to the overall calypso and steel band fraternity, etc., etc. And we are wonderfully blessed this afternoon to have three persons. I can't think about anybody else outside of the three who could talk about Sparrow, and more than that, also, I should say, a man who has researched the work of Sparrow and has put on plays, etc., etc. The man's called Zeno Constance. Welcome to the program, Zeno.
Yeah.
All right, you're there? Okay, we've seen your face now. Welcome. And
Okay, right.
just to say
Yeah.
that Zeno provided us with a whole range of music. Sparrow's Calypsos this afternoon, which we're going to play, talk about him and his work, etc., etc. We also have Dr. Rudolph Otley, who is an author, a lecturer, somebody who has written and spoken about the mighty Sparrow for a long period of time. Welcome to the program, sir, and thanks for the time that you're investing in this program.
Thank you very much, Tony. Nice to be here.
And we have Professor Hollis Liverpool. I don't think he needs any introduction, but nevertheless, he is the 9-time Calypso King of Trinidad and Tobago, one more than Sparrow himself. And we know him as Chalky or Chalkdust. Welcome to the program, sir, and thanks for agreeing to be here with us this afternoon.
Pleasure is mine, and it's pleasure to see Dr. Otley and Zeno. Long time I haven't seen them.
Okay, great. All right. Where do we start? We can play the music, but I prefer to hear from each one of you an introductory statement about Sparrow. What you've thought of him over the years, what you've written about him, how you conceive him in the world of Calypso, and something of his contribution. The details, of course, we will go into as we play the music and talk about him. But an initial statement. Professor Liverpool is on the screen, so let's go to him first.
Well, where do I start? I have written so many things about Sparrow, but one of the things that stand out to me this afternoon is that, and I mentioned this to Donna Benny, who just wrote this book on Sparrow and the Bard, and just published this book. When I look at Sparrow, I say that God has given us a lot of gifts, and certainly Calypsonians have a lot of gifts. They are special gifts, I always say, because sometimes I wonder, when I hear Calypsonians and what they say, I just wonder where they get that from. I wonder how they get these words. And when they get a melody, I say, where they get this melody from? How I can't get this melody, and I am composing. And yet Sparrow has things. So I come to the conclusion that some of us have gifts to compose. I remember Ashley telling me that, young Ashley told me that, she said, you compose and I will sing. And some of us have gifts to have nice melodies. Mudada used to say, Mudada boy, for a person who you are a primary school boy, I don't know where you get the melodies from, etc. But some of us have also the gift of good rendition, and most of Sparrow Calypso, like the one you just playing there, and bringing Africa alive and making the story come alive. That gift of rendition. Some young singers today they don't know about rendition. How you use your voice, But I tell people, although God has given us all these gifts, somehow God is biased, because God has taken most of the gifts and hit them on Sparrow. Of all the gifts that God has given us, God has given the most of them to Sparrow. Everything in any area any area of the Calypso, Sparrow is way above many of us in terms of singing the Calypso, the rendition of the Calypso, the melody of the Calypso, the style of the Calypso, even the dress. Sparrow has towered above most of all. So that he's outstanding in all the gifts that God has given us.
Mm-hmm. He was specially chosen. I can deduce from what you say that you were specially chosen.
God wired him differently. Using a special wire.
All right. Zeno Constance Obi, your initial statement on Sparrow.
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, I think Sparrow began in 54. And then into 55, he was young fry. In fact, I think Sparrow went out the country before 56. I think he was in a Guyana tour. Anyway, my first observation of Sparrow is that he is not as tall as he looks when he's on stage or when you're on TV. As if something does happen and he's towering above you. I met Sparrow once, only once, at a studio in Port of Spain, and I said, but he ain't that tall, you know. He looks so tall. Otherwise, when you see him, yeah. And the other thing about Sparrow, in this opening here is that, and this is something I take from Sprangalang. Sprangalang says, despite the fact that Sparrow is all what Chog does, say for instance, if you tell Sparrow you have a lime in library, you have to kiss a beer, just talking calypso, he could turn up. And I kind of almost verified that when I met him the time. I met a short pants actually to the studio, and I was by the gate waiting to get through the security when he also came. And I say, hey, Sparrow, expecting just him to watch me, I kind of as well. Who talking to me? And he greeted me as if he had met me before. I mean, I was so pleased, you know, that kind of. So despite all the other things they might say about him, that is one of the things. I think he know that kind of. There's a fella talking to me. I know him, but greet him with the same kind of camaraderie as if we're friends. And I was so pleased and little surprised that the way Sparrow talked to me as if we had spoken before and never had met. Mm-hmm. So that's my opening salvo. The man, in terms of humility, right? And the fact that he was there a little before us, kind of out of the blue, magic, right. Kind of magic kind of thing.
All right, Obi, if you can cue Sir Charles in the studio, the first piece of music that you want us to play, and while we talk with Dr. Otley. So tell him what is the first piece that you want, and then we go to.
Well, I have no idea. What I had done is that give you in the first folder all as part of the masquerade performances, and I see we can look at it. Whatever method we want, it doesn't matter. I don't know what he have queued up at all, but that's what I had. Starting with, of course, Yankees Gone, Gina and Dina.
All right, so we will go with that one first, Charlo. But before we do that, we go to Dr. Otley, Dr. Rudolph Otley, lecturer, writer, Calypso tent owner, manager, etc., somebody who's been in the Calypso business for a long time and at various levels. Your first statement, Dr. Otley, on King Sparrow.
As we say in the Calypso business, you want me to follow Chogas and Zeno Boy. That is a hard work to give me. You have to follow those two giants. However, what I find interesting about Sparrow, and something that has always remained with me, is the brashness and the audacity of a 21-year-old Calypsonian to confront the establishment in 1957, having just won the Calypso King title, and was prepared and willing to forego that in the interest of the art form. I think, to me, Sparrow could have done nothing else in the world, but by taking that stance as a 21-year-old, and in the presence and the company of people like Spoiler and Executor and all of these guys, and saying, I am taking this responsibility on this art form that I love so much. And as he said in one of his Calypsos, my whole life is Calypso. And by taking that stance, he demonstrated very early his commitment to the art form. And to me, that's the greatest achievement for Sparrow.
And I suppose we could add, Dr. Otley, it was a social class, a social, even political ruling class that was not easy to take on in the kind of way that you've talked about. Yes.
Yes, I think all kudos goes to him. I mean, a young black man, one who was dealing with questions of his national status, a Calypsonian who in those days where Calypso and the art form was perceived as secondary, and then to take on, as Chogda said, the people from Marval and Sinclair and St. Anne's. Mm-hmm. and willing and give up to the proprietary right of a Calypso King. To me, that's outstanding.
Significant. Mm-hmm. All right, Sir Charles, let's hear the music. And when we play a couple verses, we'll come back and allow our guests to say their piece on Sparrow and the music.
out how they could. Brother is now they pack up in tongue. In for a penny and in for a pound. Believe me, it's competition for so. Trouble in the town when the price drop low. So when you bounce up, Gina and Dina, Rosita and Clementina, on the corner posing that your life is something they sell it. And if you catch them broke, you can get them all for nothing. Don't make a row. The Yankees gone, Sparrow take over now. Clubs right, only West Indians like me or you go in to get a drink or two. And as we have things back in control, I seeking revenge with my heart and soul. Brother, when I spread the news around, is to see how them cavemen come in the town, just to meet Miss Gina and Dina, Rosita and Clementina. Round the corner posing, bet your life is something they sell it. And when you catch them broke, you can get them all for nothing. Don't make a row. Well, the Yankees on Sparrow take over now.
All right, Gene and Dina. Our first piece this afternoon, gentlemen.
All right.
Yeah.
And there is much in that calypso to observe and comment upon. And so let me go to Professor Liverpool first to hear your reaction. This was Sparrow, the 21-year-old brash new fella, somebody called him a brash new fella, coming in town and winning the crown with a calypso like this.
Boy, there was so much in that calypso. There's so much in that calypso till I was singing that calypso for Dr. Ali, who was the provost at the University at the time. And he told me, he said, Chucky, all you only seen women. I see more than women in that calypso, you know. I see the PNM coming in 1956 with Eric Williams and taking over the country. And all you see in the political nature of the calypso is more than just Gina and Dina. And he's so right, you know. And the second thing about the calypso is that if you make a calypso today about horse and tongue, like most other fellas did, you know, horse and tongue, you can't call them Gina and Dina, the other call them like these names now, Felicia and Consignia, all kind of names. And Gina, the names Gina and Dina are words and names that were used by women in the 50s. And you see that whole concept of the name changing in the calypso, you know, etc. And it is not Sparrow to take over. It's more than Sparrow to take over. The Calypsonians, you know, our people, according to Gypsy, mentioned that, who used to go around a lot of prostitutes after they leave the tent and so on. And to a large extent, Sparrow, what is Sparrow saying? He doesn't say it, but he's telling you that we as Calypsonians and we as people who make a dollar and spend with prostitutes, we are now in a space where we could claim something from these women. So that it's a lot of things in that calypso by Gina and Dina. Then when you study the history of the calypso itself, the history of the calypso tells you that it was first made by Salvatore, the laughing man in Salvatore, you know, and he and Blakey and them used to sing that calypso in prison. And when I went into the prison to give a talk to the prisoners about calypso, I was dumbfounded because I found that all the prisoners, at least who I was talking to, knew all the calypsos. And then I found out that when one man make a calypso in prison, everybody learns it. So all of them learned that calypso and all of them knew. And who came out first singing it? So that Blakey and all of them were in prison at the time. And all of them were singing that calypso, so they all came out. In fact, Blakey was very, very angry in his life that he didn't get something from Gina and Dina. He said so. He told me so too, that he should have gotten a little copyright piece of that calypso because he had lines in it, but Sparrow came out before them, you know, and all that. So there's a lot of history behind that calypso. Very lot of history.
Zeno?
Yeah. Well, let me add my little piece on Gina and Dina, away from the calypso itself. I had once said, I still stick to it, that there are two plays I wish I could have written. I think are capable. One is Derek Walcott's Dream on Monkey Mountain, and the other one is Tony Hall's Gina and Dina. And I find that a fascinating piece where he brings the two protagonists, Gina and Dina, alive in a masterpiece of theater, which deals with the steel bands at the time and the whole prostitution at the time and all them kind of thing, you know, especially when Jean case, she was from Barataria and she now come with some Osawa and she coming in tongue. And I think it keeps the whole Gina and Dina mystique and the mystery and the myth alive, because I mean there's so many stories behind Gina and Dina, very, very interesting, which of course Chogdas touched on a couple of them. So that is my take on that, from that theatrical point of view, that a man could do a piece and bring two characters who are, listen, the thing about Gina and Dina is one of the calypsos.
Don't forget Rosita and Clementina too, you know.
Yeah, but I'm small. I'll tell you something, eh? When I talk to children in class and things, generally students from standard 1 to UE, they don't know calypso at all. But if I only say Gina and Dina, almost anybody could go to the next slide. Rosita and Clementina. So much is this piece part of our national psyche. And that is very few calypsos, very, very few, reach that level where everybody know it. At least you could pick up the hook line and go with it. So that is my little say on that.
Dr. Otley, one view may very well be that Sparrow and the Glamour Boys were harsh on Gina and Dina and Rosita and Clementina, struggling to make a living with the Yankees in town.
Well, I think Sparrow glorified the whole advent of the black man, the man on the streets, where he legitimizes the role of the man on the streets and identifies with them. I think Sparrow was always, in a double way, in double roles, to play the role of the man on the street at times, and also the man from the social classes. But in Gina and Dina in particular, it's regaining and reclaiming the streets in the name of the man from town. The
Glamour Boys.
The Glamour Boys, yeah. So the Yankees really denied them of that status. So once they left, it was time to reclaim the position within the street life and the urban or the town at the time, and their interactions with the women of the day. And Sparrow have never shied away from that responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he ushered or returned them to the era where they had to, by the sweat of their brow,
that to work for the money.
Yeah. No more hotel to rest their head, Chogdas. No more hotel to rest their head.
And then the red light districts are part of Spain. That right. So, I mean, that's a whole history that we haven't. Someone will touch on, you know. I mean, you can take that line of Gina and Dina and show people the whole red light district and what it meant. And there was a girl when I was in university, you know, Zeno might know this, or might hear of this. There was a girl who wrote about prostitution in Port of Spain, and she wrote a paper on it, and I was astounded because I said, how she know these things? Because there were different prices among the prostitutes for different sites,
services,
areas, etc. All this is his real history. So you can use Calypso to do all these things to show not only red light district, but the prices that were charged and when and why. And then when I was a boy, the first time I saw women and the private parts was I was a little boy going to school. And I saw them from prostitutes. I didn't know they were prostitutes, but I said, but how these women sit down like that? And then I got to realize when I found a big man that, that's how that was probably by selling something they sell. I didn't know it, but I only discovered it after as a big man, you know. But I saw it as a boy. As a boy, I saw things, you know.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything, Tony. This is
of course.
No, Annette, you're not allowed to.
Annette, not in that calypso, no.
You're talking already.
I from a different era.
And then we can't talk to you about Sparrow when you there now.
No, but I looked at that whole economic injection when the Yankees came, and they brought in the U.S. dollars and all of that. So these women now were making style, busting style, as I say, because they're working for the Yankee dollar. I mean, you know what that will mean to go with a little poor tail hustler. And so Sparrow himself said it. We could get it all for nothing, right? Because they didn't have nothing running. So, I mean, and that was his claim to fame. Only bust so much style when the Yankees were here, getting your big money, your hotel and stuff. And now we could get it all for nothing. Don't make a row. Yankees gone, Sparrow take over now. So, I mean, that's what I saw in it as well.
Yeah. And I feel free to participate anytime you choose so to. So you don't have to ask my permission. Just come in.
Tony, you don't know, these are my professors. I mean,
I know.
So I still pay them respect. You know what I mean?
Let me add this before I forget. Let me add this before I forget. Before Sparrow sang Gina and Dina, Lion sang that. Roaring Lion sang about, he didn't use the word Gina and Dina, but Roaring Lion sang about all the prostitutes in town, long before Sparrow.
Yeah. No, I have heard. I have no way of confirming this.
But I have heard. I have Lion's words. I have Lion's lyrics.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about that. No, Chuck. You're talking about something else, which I'm going to say now. I have been told that with the Yankee occupation, there were a lot of brown skin, red skin, half white, half black children who came out not from Gina and Dina, but from social enclaves in the society. Is there any truth to that?
Quite true. Quite true. I don't want to call name, but that's quite true. I don't know if I should say this on your program, but Roy Cape told me that. Roy Cape told me. Roy Cape told me when I asked Roy Cape, I said, "But how? You see all musicians black, etc. How you so red skin?" He said, "He tell me I am the result of Gina and Dina."
Okay. Yeah. I've heard that it's a lot of middle class women.
A lot of middle class women. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
We have always had the forex problem in Trinidad. And therefore, the Yankee dollar, even at that time, in the 1950s, and pre-independence in particular, really opened the avenues and doors for a number of people to venture into activities that they probably would not have done without the Yankee dollars. So the Yankee dollar created not only economic opportunities, as Alice said, but it also disbanded and reshaped our family and social structure in Trinidad, because even mothers and daughters were competing for that Yankee dollar at the time.
Right.
So that a lot of this harmony because of the forex.
Right. Very interesting.
Exactly, because I remember then too, if you got a job on the base, that was a big thing. My father working on the, just like as Dr. Ati said, it was a change in that whole the injection of money and the forex and Yankee dollars, and people got to know the U.S. and going up to, remember we were under Mother England and then the U.S. So that was a whole turn of events and of the thing there. People are heading to the U.S. now,
Yeah. Wonderful opening there of Gina, Dina, Rosita, and Clementina. What's the next one you have for us, Zeno, that you want Sir Charles to play?
Well, I was about to say Carnival boycott of the next year, but I think we spoke about it. Well, definitely would have mentioned it a while ago.
Yeah, but we could still play it. And our listeners will hear the lyrics of it. Some may not have heard it before or have forgotten about it. So, Sir Charles.
Because I love Carnival. Sparrow play mass as usual because I love of Carnival, but no competition for me. In San Fernando or the city, they could preach, beat or applaud. I wouldn't even go to Savannah to see football. I intend to keep on the costumes on the shelf. Let they keep the prize in Savannah for their own self. And let the queen run the show without steel band and calypso. If you want to go, you could go up there, but me ain't going nowhere. What really caused the upset is the car the queen does get. She does nothing for Carnival, only pretty and that is all. But men like me and you, saving money whole year to play juju. All we getting is 2 cases of beer and a talk up as band of the year. So I intend to keep all my costumes on the shelf. Let they keep the prize in Savannah for their own self. And let the queen run the show without silver and calypso. Who wants to go could go up there, but me ain't going nowhere.
All right, Carnival boycott. And just before we get back into the show, Tony, and very quietly has been there waiting also is Denise is also on the platform with us. I don't know if you did not see her in between there. But
no, I didn't.
Yes, she's been there from day one.
Okay, so let's hear Denise. Denise, are you there? She seems to have disappeared. Well, when she comes back, when she returns,
she's muted. She's muted. So, Denise, if you're there, you will unmute and you can join the conversation. Yeah, but go ahead in the meantime, Tina.
Yeah, Chuck does.
Well, I want to give way to Dr. Otley on this, I'll tell you, because Dr. Otley has written a lot about that fight between Downtown Carnival and the Carnival in Savannah, and the fight to have the city council for the Spain running the Carnival, etc. before, and then Uptown Carnival with all the Chamber of Commerce and them. And then Eric Williams comes in 56 and with bringing the Carnival, the CDC. And what was captured there is that fight to have Carnival and to have the competition and to have the standards in the Calypso. And many persons didn't used to denigrate the Calypso. And what Sparrow is saying, as far as he pulled the first blade in that fight to show that Calypsonians deserve better. And later on, other people continue, Superior and all the other people continue the fight. So that was one of the big things that was Sparrow.
Yeah. Dr. Otley.
I think what in that Calypso, what it also highlights is the social stratification of the Carnival.
Yeah.
In relation to the events or the activities that dominated the populace at the time. The Queen Show was the major event in this event. And it also signaled the type of people who were engaged in the Queen Show in terms of the participants, the audiences, and what Sparrow really dealt more specifically with, the prize monies that were awarded to the queens as opposed to the Calypsonians. Yeah. So for Sparrow, as he said in one of the verses, and all the queen does is walk across the stage, and she ends up in a vehicle, a trip to London, watches, and all of that. And at the end of the day, though, the Calypso king, who provides the music for the carnival, receives $25 and a brass crown. So Sparrow immediately talks about the business of carnival and the economics of carnival, and how it is relegated to some classes, or whereby class structure becomes an important part. And as Andrew want to talk about the economics of the carnival in relation to who is involved and the social stratification, how the society was organized and showed whereby class and color played a significant role in the carnival. And even today, if we look at it, but we won't jump so far so quickly.
Yeah. And of course, Sparrow raising the issue, as you've just said, about class and color, which may have been, I haven't studied the period and I wasn't there in that kind of way. It wasn't easy to raise class and color in the circumstances of the period. I'm sure it wasn't.
It was, and just to, in terms of the geography of Carnival, because remember, downtown was where the original Carnival was. And in 1919, the Guardian newspaper and the business community of the day decided to move Carnival, or attempted to move Carnival, to the Savannah. In 1919, that's where the Pretty Mass came in.
Yeah.
But before that, it was the downtown Carnival, the Jab Jab and the Jambalasi and the Devil Mass and all those things, downtown in terms of Marine Square behind the bridge. So, but from 1919, we had these two carnivals operating. One in the Savannah, which is for the middle class or the white people, and one downtown for the free Africans and the black people in the society. And today we have a little another class. We have now the West Carnival, but then again, we won't go into that.
And we can add the African Carnival versus the European Carnival.
European Carnival, yes, from 1919.
All right, before we go to Zeno,
sorry.
I think, Denise, are you back there now?
I was about to say something.
Sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was also thinking, and what Dr. Otley was talking about is our JC's Carnival Queen. I know Explainer did something, and he might have got it from Sparrow before him, where he said, "Not me and the monarchy," and he stuck to that. He never went back into it. But yeah, that JC's, and I remember a story where, in fact, the JC's was it Beard or something like that? When she
Pearl
won.
Beard.
And yes, and because of her color, they did not award her the prize, and so on, and the rest is history. But Sparrow also zeroed into the actual masquerade, that so much effort went into it as well in that particular calypso, and not, compensated for the amount that went into it. And yet this girl walks across the stage, and Dr.
In fact, I remember the first brown skin kind of woman who won the competition was the Monroe lady, Alicia, I think was her first name, sister of the Quattros, I forget his first name now, but she won it.
Robert Monroe?
Robert is his first name, yeah. His sister, Alicia Monroe, she was the first person who was not blonde and very white to have won the competition. Zeno, hang on one second. Let me see if we find Denise. Denise, are you there? Denise seems to be ghosting back and forth.
No, but I think she has made she made a comment on the chat, so maybe you could look at that.
I'll check it out.
And,
go ahead, Zeno.
Right, I know she was saying, I think she was saying that she unable to be on the microphone, but she listening. All right. No, the one comment I want to make on this, well, to back up what Rudolph has said about the uptown, downtown kind of thing, what I've always found fascinating is the fact that when Sparrow had a boycott and he had his own competition in the Globe, there was an uptown Savannah and a downtown Globe competition. To me, they both had significant weight. And what made it interesting is a spoiler took part in both. And I always look at that over the years to say, well, we put it was Pretender, I think, who got an opportunity in that year. But in a sense, I think Sparrow deserves to be considered a monarch in that thing, because it wasn't organized by a certain clique. Anyway, let me finish it off. That's for information. Superior have a calypso called the Brass Gong that looks at the same situation that Rudolph so nicely went into about the prize money and the whole thing but I know what I had done adequately in the sticks. All right.
Yes, in fact, I was just about to say that we shouldn't forget the role that Supi played in this whole business of getting some respectability for the Calypsonians through his own position that he took in the matter. Yeah? Right. Sir Charles, what else you have lined up for us?
Well, I'm actually waiting on Zeno to find out what Zeno would like to play again.
my opponent, I don't have it in front of me, but if you're going to 1960, when Sparrow returned to the competition after his 57, 58, 59 absent, He thought it was prudent to return, then the money was a little better. The conditions that he had created was a little better, and he returned. I'm not sure what he was singing, so I'm not in front of me now which of the 1960 songs. Maybe Rudolph or Chalky could remember, and you play one of those. But I know you could get to Rose soon.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting juncture into the calypso.
But before we go to Rose, just remember that Eric William put his hand in his pocket in 58 or 59 and added some money to the calypso King competition.
Yeah, what I'm saying.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It gives Sparrow a chance, with an opportunity to say, I could come back now, you know.
Yeah.
Took the money a little better.
So Chalk, that was money out? I've never heard this before. Was that money out of his own pocket and not government funds?
Out of his own pocket. While he's singing, Eric William put his hand in his pocket and called Prince Carnival and say, hold this. And this guy's doing this one. Yeah, that was a good contribution. Nobody has written about that.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Very interesting. Chalo, what music you have?
Well, I have Federation I have lined up if you all would like to go with that.
Man, I think you can make your choices when we don't have something here. Go ahead and make your choice. So Federation.
People want to know why Jamaica run from the Federation. Well, they want to know why Jamaica run away from the Federation. Jamaica have a right to speak she mind. That is my opinion. And if you believe in democracy, you'll agree with me. But if they know they didn't want federation, and they know they don't want to unite as one and only one, tell the doctor you're not in favor, and don't behave like a blasted traitor. How the devil you mean you are federating no more? Whoa, whoa. Swing it out, boys. Whoa, whoa, whoa. La 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 la. You mustn't doubt me. When they didn't get the capital site, that nearly caused big fight. When Sir Grantley Adams took up his post, that even made things worse. They ballin', we ain't want no Bajan premier. Trinidad can be capital for here. So the grumbling went on and on to a big referendum. But if they know they didn't want a federation, and they know they don't want to unite as one, independence was at the door. Why you didn't hold your referendum before? This is no time to say you are federating no more. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
All right, and of course that is a federation.
Wonderful. Zeno, that's obviously a live recording. You know what strikes me, there is the clarity of Sparrow's diction, the sweetness of his voice. I find, first time I've heard that live recording, I find it wonderful.
Come back to the point about rendition.
It was an era, as we talk about the era of the 60s, when Sparrow was, I want to say aggressive, but he was dealing with some very personal challenges regarding the calypso, both in terms of the competition. Remember, he had just lost in 61 to Douglas. And in 62, singing Federation, I think the calypso he sang in the 10th during that year was, 1962, was Robbery with V, where where he really dealt with his own personal approach, and something which which he carried throughout his career, whereby there's a time and a point when Sparrow becomes or personalizes issues to the point whereby he sheds a different color of skin. He performs and he says things in a way that sometimes one would consider as being overly aggressive, but what it really demonstrates is his commitment to whatever cause he's fighting. And Robbie Ridley and Federation in that era signifies Sparrow holding on to an issue and giving it every ounce of his blood to make the point that, yes, you should not have federated. You had enough time to do it before. The referendum could have been called long before. And we were in a stage now whereby we were all trying to move forward in terms of unity and get away from that sort of insularity of the region. And he was very upset. And you could hear it in the way he presented the work on that issue.
Yeah. I have a sense when every time I think about and listen to that calypso, that there was some Dr. Williams involvement in that, because he was making the case for the doctor. Tell the doctor, don't behave like a blasted traitor, etc., etc. I don't know.
You remember he had a very close relationship with the PNM through Dr. Williams, not necessarily the PNM party. As you told me once in an interview, he was not necessarily a PNM person, but he loved Dr. Williams. Yeah. And when Dr. Williams passed away in 1981, and you saw where he moved away from the PNM party in terms of his relationship.
Yeah, Chokdas, you wanted to say something?
Well, I want to add that CLR James gave a lot of lectures on the Federation afterwards. And this is one of the reasons I tell people when they ask me, why does Sparrow get a doctorate from UWI? And I ask them, you can make Federation? You can make Federation and you can write about Federation, then you deserve a doctorate. What Sparrow did in that one calypso is what plenty UWI people and plenty academics try to do and can do. Because the Federation, it was not just what happened in the 50s, but Sparrow is looking at the downfall of the Leeward Islands Federation and the fight by Britain to federate the West Indies, and the Canadian man saying we must federate, etc., and fighting for federation. And that fight for federation was long before the 50s, you know. Mm-hmm. And so now it's climbing on the Sparrow on the shoulders of all those persons who fought for federation and did not succeed. And we have to see that. And then C.L.R. James gave us some of his lecture based on we failed miserably. That was his lecture. We failed miserably. And C.L.R. used that calypso to give lectures to people here and overseas on the downfall of the West Indies Federation. Mm-hmm. So Sparrow deserved by far, he deserved his ORGT and he deserved his doctorate.
Mm-hmm. Zeno, you want to say something?
Briefly, let me talk a bit about the performance that night. I don't think, or at least I don't know that this recording is live from that night. But on that night, Peter Pitts relates that he was a judge, a junior judge. And when Sparrow finished, he gave Sparrow 100 out of 100 and threw his papers up in the air. And then he went after the intermission, I think, or after the competition, he went to the chief judge and said, I apologize, I get carried away there. I give Sparrow 100 out of 100. Mm-hmm. And it was reported, the chief judge said, you too? And I know that Rudolph and Chokdas might have known this not anecdote. What a lot of people out there didn't know it or shouldn't know it. I'm glad to relate it, but it shows power as a performer. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those performances that when he sees it tonight, everything went in his favor. You could hear the crowd moving, even in this performance, which I don't think it is the magical. But all reports, it was a massive thing. So that's my contribution on this one.
And of course, the whole song is structured into the politics of the Federation of the period. It was the JLP under Bustamante in Jamaica, who was outside of the whole Federation business. And the JLP has been and continues to have a different focus on the Federation from the PNP which of course was the party of Monday. So that all of those things are played out in the Calypso. Yes? Okay, Charles, what else you have for us? Going along?
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a short break and and come back with something else and we'll continue the discussion.
Just before you go to the break, I would like to hear the comments from our guests with regard to Sparrow on the local politics. Dr. Williams, you have a number of calypsos inside there. William the Conqueror, the whole taxation business as that was introduced. So one of those songs could be a good way to start off the conversation.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, but no federation again. I think it's a big shame. After so much efforts and energy put by everybody, right now it's only a memory. We fail miserably. Some people may say we shouldn't part it, but it's Jamaica where start it. If they know they didn't want federation, and they know they don't want to unite as one. Tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a last-minute traitor. This is no time to say you are federated no more. Whoa, 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 wah, 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 wee, wah. La 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 la.
Join me, Brother David Muhammad, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio, Powerful Radio. Join me to hear knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
Looking for trusted, affordable security and property services? Horatio Services has you covered across Trinidad and Tobago. We offer battle security, canine patrols, 24/7 protection, and all sorts of private investigations, discreet, professional, and effective. But that's not all. We also provide construction. From building to renovation, we bring your vision to life. Landscaping, keep your outdoors looking sharp and inviting. Maintenance, repairs, upkeep, and everything in between. At Horatio Services, you get professionalism, reliability, and personal care. Whether it's safety or property support you need, visit us at Moreno Street, Arima. Call 373-5122 today. Horatio Services, protection, precision, peace of mind. Bringing you bold discussions, the hottest topics, and some tracks to keep you moving. The Drivetime Exchange on Net Radio, taking you above and beyond.
There came the infighting, there came the backbiting. That start a big problem. Instead the doctor tell them, even if you leave and go, you can't get away from the tax. To New York or Tokyo, you can't get away from the tax. So you better make up your mind. You can't get away from the tax. No matter if the doctor resign, you can't get away from the tax. Even if your grandmother dead, you can't get away from the tax. Waste that time to kneel down and beg, you can't get away from the tax. Just Just make up your mind, you have to pay.
You can't get away from tax.
Stop thinking and running away.
You can't get away from tax.
So you see, there came the infighting, then came the backbiting. That start a big problem. Instead the doctor tell them, even if you leave and go,
you can't get away from tax.
to New York or Tokyo,
You can't get away from tax.
so you better make up your mind.
You can't get away from tax.
Don't matter if the doctor resign.
You can't get away from tax.
Even if
All right, so we jump back inside the Drive Time Exchange right here on New Era TT Radio. And people, you will have to unmute your microphones. I muted everybody, all right? In between the break there. Can't get away from the tax. Apparently, like the song of itself was tax, Tony. I didn't get the whole of the song.
Okay, what crossed my mind a moment ago, maybe the PNM government of today, yesterday that is, had somebody pleading their case like the mighty Sparrow. Maybe they would have been successful in terms of the revenue authority, but that of course is another story. We go back to the late 1950s, and of course the background is that being a colonial territory, we didn't have responsibility for ourselves in the kind of way that a national territory would have had. And therefore, the introduction of a tax to, meet the expenses of running a country was something new, and Sparrow got into it. So, Dr. Otley, you're the only one that I see so far has unmuted your microphone. Dr. Liverpool and Zeno Obi, you need to unmute your microphone so that we can hear what you're saying. Dr. Otley, go ahead in the meantime.
Yeah, I think
all right.
That's right.
Sure.
That's right. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Liverpool.
Well, what for me, when that Calypso came out, I was a young boy, now living in St. Mary's, etc., and I didn't know nothing about tax.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know nothing about tax, and this thing was you can't get away from the tax. And then I learned what is a tax, what is a tax? The difference between taxes and other rates, etc., that the government charges, and I was flabbergasted. And it's one of the songs I tell people that the Calypso can teach us so much information. And one of the things that our young people today not getting is because they don't understand what's happening among governments, etc. And Calypsonians have a way and should have a way and have that right to explain the government procedures, etc. Today I was reading about the central bank by Dr. Parrott, and it says these are things that Calypsonians could sing about, because many Calypsonians say they don't have nothing and they only sing about women, etc. And there are so many things that they can sing about to explain the people. And one of them is about taxation. Taxation is not only for parliamentarians, it's for everybody. And I learned a lot from that Calypso. You can't get away from the tax. I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And of course, he listed in the Calypso the many areas that the tax revenue would go to, schools, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But again, you see, that's the rebel in Sparrow. And he continued in that vein throughout his career by taking on the establishment, and he called some names in that Calypso in relation to, like he was committed to challenging the social structure and the classes in the society, and in defense of his good friend Dr. Williams, he was laying the case that no matter who you are, and what role you play in the society, we need for you to pay your taxes. You could leave and go, as he said. You could leave and go to Africa, and still have to pay the tax. So that there was a commitment for him, but two commitments. One, in the interest of the society, that you pay the tax, and two, in support of Eric Williams and the PNM to introduce this new system in order to benefit the society.
Yes,
Zeno?
Yeah, just briefly, what is interesting, the tax thing was so big at that time that Sparrow actually have two Calypsos, Pay As You Earn, which kind of reinforces Dr. Williams' taxation. Very interesting. Doctor said to pay as you earn. So he get 2 bites of the cherry. That's because And I mean nothing wrong with that. The tax thing was so popular and such a all-pervading topic in the society then. For that couple of years, Sparrow make sure, you know.
But even today,
about it.
but even today, and as Tony hinted a while ago, even today, that whole Revenue Authorities Act and that situation of taxes, have brought back those two calypsos in terms of how unique and how interesting the calypsonians and as Professor was saying a while ago, when you choose the same particular kind of topics, they are timely and timeless because we can still relate those two calypsos to 2025. And the impact taxes have on the society.
Yeah.
Well, before
and there is an element of the calypso, both pay as you earn and the other one that we heard is that pay as you earn, and then in the other calypso he talks about himself not being afraid of the tax, but like the Freitas and Fernandez. And what that indicates is the nature of the taxation system. That is what you call a progressive taxation system, as opposed to the regressive one, which has the people at the lower and middle classes paying the bulk of the taxes. And Sparrow was indicating that this tax was a progressive one. He cool because he had no big set of income, but fellas like Fernandez and so on, they will have to pay as they earn. Yes, Shogdas?
Quite true, quite true. And you were so right. Up to this day, they have to pay as they earn.
Well, before you guys move off of it, let me play a little bit of that and then we come back.
It's a shame, but we have ourselves to blame. It's a shame, we have ourselves to blame. We asked for new government, now they're taking every cent. Cost of living is the same. It is really a burning shame. The doctor say to pay as you earn, and Sparrow say you pay to learn. But my father say sharp maniacs, for when the collector passed to chip off the income tax. Plenty people is in misery, but it's taxing bothering me. Well, I am not working anywhere, so I have no income to share. But Mr. This and Mr. That, who are customer the payroll fat, is to see them shedding tears. Men like the Freitas and Fernandez. The doctor say to pay as you earn. Sparrow say you pay to learn. And my father say sharp maniacs, for when the collector pass to cut down income tax.
All right, so we're back. Pay as you earn.
Yeah, and of course his father changed his mind in the last verse. He said he wanted to pay off the income tax. I suppose he was informed and educated about the reason for the income tax, and therefore he moved to that position. Zeno, the music, I find the music is so sweet. Who's that in the background there?
I have no idea. But I have a bias to 1960s music. I still think the music and the calypsos, the melodies from the 1960s are the best we ever had. But that's my personal bias, and I think it comes from the fact that I was born in the 50s. So by the 60s, I was small enough, 8, 9, 10, 11, so on, to appreciate. And I was hearing too the pop songs of the era. Those we call doo-wah, doo-dop songs and so on.
Okay.
From
Black America. Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. Not only Black American, you hear fellas singing Venus and Frankie Avalon and these fellas. The melodies were so sweet, and you could hear them. Somebody asked me yesterday, what is Sparrow's sweetest word march? And I say, Royal Jail. Yeah, let me look. Let me look. Keep on doing this thing.
Chalo, that is a signal for you to
Yeah.
deal with
Look at
Royal
it.
Jail,
One time.
which opens up a whole new issue about badjohnism in the 60s. And of course, it culminates with Sparrow's own truck, as it were, with the badjons after he ate some chicken at Marama. So go ahead, Charles.
I want a rum laddie. I must have a rosary, bring a glass there. What kind of woman is? Criminals beware, all you got to hear. Criminals beware, this year all you got to hear. This among the licking dog. All over town, sharing mix from street to street, but they know who to beat, believe me. I don't tell my friends and my family not to worry. Any one of them interfere with me. Take it easy. Don't worry, no bad insurance, save the lawyer fee. And if you have any mail, well, let it be at the royal jail. All around them club is to see them, they're begging for bob. When you pass by street, they're stretching their hand, partner, give me something there. You ain't have, so you walk away. Next morning you wake up in a ravine, your head bust, your pocket clean, but not me. I don't tell my friends and my family, yeah, tell them don't worry. Any one of them will happen with me. Don't worry, no bad injury, save the lawyer, no money at all. If you have any mail, send it to me at the royal jail.
All right, yes.
The badjon era, Dr. Liverpool.
I took up about 5 times my pen to write a book on badjonism. I finished it. And it's something. I went to England and I met some badgons in England, and I said, when I told them what I was writing, they were shocked and they were glad for me to write this book on our badjonism. But that badjonism is something that we need to write about, and ultimately we have to do that because I'll tell you why. The badjons are different from the bandits. The badjons are different from the criminals today. The badjons is pretty fight and pretty kick and pretty cough, etc. And all bands had little badjons in the back of the band, and they played a lot. In fact, the badjons saved Carnival. 1881, all the badjons, they fight for Carnival to get away from the Englishman. It's badjons. And Sparrow is bringing back that era. So Sparrow is onto something outstanding that we social scientists have not taken up yet. Up to now, we have not written. We have not written about those badjons. And those badjons, let me give you an example. There was, Sparrow was giving me this one because badjons had some badjons were famous for kicking, some badjons were famous for fighting, some badjons were famous for coughing, etc. You know, and they had all different types of badjons, and they were not criminals. They didn't kill nobody. And even when they came to knives, only badjons began to knife. It was not to stab you or to kill you; it was to mark you. So there's a cut you. And all badgers have a favor for cutting people. So there's a lot of things that we haven't done yet. We have so, I tell my students all the time that we have so much more to write. There's so much to write. And so that badgerism is very, very important. Very, very important.
Yeah, you know, I had some years ago, 10 years or so ago, I had an interview with Neville Jules.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the badjons in the All Stars period when he was coming up in the band. And one of the things he told me was that he himself was not a badjon, but you had to learn to protect yourself. Right. And what he said that there were wrestlers, professional wrestlers, who would come to the band and teach the fellas how to take care of themselves. So you're right, it was part of the whole culture of fighting, and of course you had to fight against the other band and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Dr. Otley.
Yeah, I think to continue with the point of the badjohnism, but also to link it with Sparrow and Sparrow's sense of street life. Sparrow's written 7 calypsos on that whole era of that whole thing of badjohnism. He started in with 10 to 1 in 59, and then in 60 he had one called Don't Leave Me, and in 61 he had Royal Jail. In 62 he had Renegades. He had Hangman Cemetery in 62. He had Rebel in 1966, and then in 1973 he ended with the Badjohn Calypso. So Sparrow has documented what Professor Liverpool is talking about. If we take those 7 calypsos, Prof, we have an entire dissertation right here in terms of how he links it with the steel band movement in particular, but also showing the role the lower classes played in the Carnival during the 60s and 70s.
Correct.
Dr. Hartley, which one is, I'm always amazed with the whole question of the gun culture, but Sparrow also had a song where Sparrow's selling guns nowadays.
Yes.
What's the name of that one? Sparrow selling guns.
Nowadays, that's what really pays.
Yes.
Gunslingers.
Yeah, I think that was 64, so that makes it 8 then.
Yeah. I was lost for a while. My signal fell. I lost charge. So I've missed a whole chunk of it, but it's very, very interesting so far. Totally enjoying it.
Chalo, I am sure that we have to hear 10 to 1 is murder. So if you can cue that up, and let me allow Zeno to say his part on this, and then we can go to 10 to 1 is murder. Zeno, like he is taking a 5 out.
What about that other fellow who sang Gunslingers? That other fellow who sang
Caruso. That's Caruso.
Caruso, a big calypso too.
Again, another Grenadian.
And also that what's his name? He won the crown in 59 or somewhere around there. He had a gunslinger. I'm trying to remember his name. Short, kind of stumpy fellow. Always wore a hat. What's his name? Name will come back to me in a moment. But I think he won the crown somewhere around 59, 58, something like that. But he had
striker.
Yes.
Striker.
Yeah.
He had a Badjohn song also.
Yes.
Chalo, 10 to 1 is murder.
Well, I didn't get the 10 to 1 is murder. Yeah, I've been looking for it. But I have the gunslinger. I can play that one. Not the gunslinger, the Badjohn for you in the meantime, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and Sparrow turned himself into a bad man.
If we could transform the number of Badjohn before we did it.
I am Christopher, son of Lucifer, and a real bad. I ain't joking that I ain't afraid to death. I was born in a graveyard. Let me tell you flat, tongue written up Maggie Scott, bitter man and Ozzy. The past and present Badjohn respect me. I beat men like Gold Teeth, Copperhead and Sims. Pringy, Jack and Boise sing. Axe Dana, Kid Cooley and Kincaid, Musso Scribo, Jack Slade, the great Fire Kong, he and all this freed me in tongue. I don't threaten, I don't give warning, it's only action. Heavy cough for cough, I'll destroy an entire tongue to catch one man. I's a man do bluff, I'll speak in nose and Sigili. One time in Sipari, they see me beat the whole of Red Army. Big Sacks, Skipper Jeff and Lance, Scorpion, Cutter and Bunkans, Blakey, Mice, Jobel and Samson, even Albert Thompson, Batman Anderson.
and the free prison.
All right, Tony, so we're back. I'm still
Okay,
looking for
Bad
10 to
John,
1 for
Bad
you,
John.
okay?
They say when Albert Thompson coffee is sure you're going on the ground.
You know, I had the pleasure of interviewing Carly Meyer, a man from Sunland,
Yes,
and
Sunland.
Belmont, years ago. I think he was in his 90s by then, and you know, some of the faculties weren't there. But he had a rusty old shoemaker knife. He told me he was a shoemaker. So he had I gave him some chat, and I said, them young fellas will come and take you out, you know. And he searched in his drawer for this old rusty shoemaker knife that he wasn't afraid. But he told me an interesting story. He said there was a fella in San Fernando, he called the person's name, the name doesn't come to my mind now, who was getting a lot of reputation, and he didn't like that. So he took a bus and he went to San Fernando and picked fight with this fella. According to him, he beat the man soft. I don't know the truth of that. But it was a sense of how the badgeons of the day, I suppose, operated.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Otley?
Yeah, again, linking it with the steel band and territory. So that, as Prof said a while ago, each steel band has its core badgeons to protect the band, to protect the community. And to the community-based thing, it was not to have the neighbor or home invasion. It was to protect that instrument, that sense of belongingness. We all belong to All Stars, Desperados, and when we meet on the street, it's also protecting your band against the other band. You know, so rights, territorial rights were very important.
It was a protection of the pans also.
Yes, very much so.
Dana used to say he's a marabunta, and he protected Tokyo. He's the protector of Tokyo Steel Band.
Don't forget Casablanca too.
And we forget Casablanca.
No, you can't. You can't.
Casablanca was tough in them days.
Yeah, Casablanca couldn't fight nobody them days.
Them couldn't fight nobody.
Charlo, anything else? Did you find 10 to 1 is murder? I think
yes, I found the 10 to 1 is murder for you.
Let me go with that, man. Let me go with that.
Feeling sad. Well, they're playing peace. Why they run for bodies? Stand to be not a big side of the drama. We're down Henry Street by Asia Walker. About 10 in the night on the 5th of October. See how I'm pushing you from the Dina. How the Dina gang was a hot like a pepper. And every man in the gang had a white hand razor. Well, I'm back in the fall in the gutter. Let us imagine the position of the police in the area. Take it out. Start to sweat, man, I'm soaking wet. Mama, so much stress. That's a night I can't forget. 10 of them against me with 50 spectators. And they went coming up like they want to the power. But in the heat of the excitement is then I remember. The next man's pocket up for the wedge. I don't know what to do, but I just can't surrender. So they will put me down to as small as pretender. You could imagine the plan was to go liver. But as the crowd started together, I started to shiver.
10 to 1 is murder.
And as he says in the last verse of the Calypso, amongst all of what was happening, you hear poto po, and the crowd start to scatter.
So somebody shot the gun.
Well,
Carnival back pocket and all that. There was a gun somewhere in the midst.
So it was a real situation. Yes.
What is nice about Calypso, Tony, of this is the rhyming scheme.
Okay.
And the rhyming scheme of that Calypso, the wedger and pretender and the razor and murder and the rhyming scheme, right? Today, one fellas today can't find a rhyme. I say, but look at them, look at that. Calypso. entire calypso ending in Razor, Major, Contender, HGM, Walker, and plus that, when you're talking about speed, is a good area to show young calypsonians that the speed of the calypso is to show the kind of fight he was in.
Yes,
and he sang very, very, very fast. And while he sang very fast, it's not that you want to sing fast, but to show the kind of plight he was running from people, etc. You know, and it was a real fight, you know. So that
just
condition, man. So,
just let me say this: that HGM Walker, a neighbor of mine, is a grandson of HDM Walker, and it's fascinating. And he looks like he has red hair. He is white beyond red. Grandfather came from Scotland. He said.
Right. Yeah.
Dr. Otley.
Again, as Papa Strachey saying, the rhyming pattern. But what I like about it, and again, it personifies Sparrow, the dramatist, the actor, the dancer, when he performs that calypso. You know, all the emotions, all the idiosyncrasies of the battle that is taking place. He demonstrates it in song. And for me, Sparrow is a movie. When he's in full flight, Sparrow is a full movie. You get poetry, you get rhyming patterns, you get dramatic scenes, you get emotional input, you get everything from Sparrow. But 10 to 1 in particular, I think it offers him that opportunity to play himself that way as a dramatist.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that strikes me about that calypso, it sounded to me like he was making a case to go before the magistrate or the judge. I have listened to it carefully on a number of occasions. He was building a case.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, building a case, definitely.
Remember, he had some issue that era with some gun story. Remember Melody or also something about him and a gun. And he was building a case because Sparrow had a gun, you know, and that was the talking tongue. And then Blakey sang a calypso where Blakey talked about you defended Sparrow. If you were in Sparrow place, wouldn't you have done the same thing? Defend yourself. Yes, so Tony, you're correct. He's really making a case of defense.
And Blakey also talks about this Grenadian shooting down the play.
When we talk about Sparrow, and it's coincidental we bring in Blakey, but we must talk about Blakey and Sparrow. Because there's a love-hate relationship with Blakey and Sparrow. To a lesser extent with Kitchener and Sparrow, and then later on you had Shorty and Sparrow. I think we maybe somewhere we could fit those characters in when we talk about Sparrow.
Those are three shows.
Yeah. All right. Zeno seems to have disappeared for a moment.
No, I'm back. I am back.
Okay, all right.
Wi-Fi giving plenty trouble, so but I'm back. I get put out again. Let me just make one. Let me say one thing on the I have put over and the goes to the scatter. But there's a school of thought that says that in that episode, which by the way combines, it seems two incidents. But the school of thought is that it was a Melody who had the gun. Now I was talking to Melody's son, and he said from his knowledge of the story is that when they fell the wrong Sparrow, and Melody they go and call Melody and say they're attacking Sparrow, and Melody come and say shoot up a thing in the air. Now I don't know. I tell them the way I buy it from Melody's son, who I speak to very often. But it seems, however, that Melody's son argument is that incident took place in San Fernando, in a nightclub. But I know a lot of people said it was outside the Marama. He says that, but it seems to me that there might be a combination of two things.
And there might have been a battle that took place in San Fernando.
Yeah. Which it's not so hard to believe, because in Tony Hawk's and Dina, that band clashes from two different clashes, band clashes. So I feel that there's a possibility that Sparrow is singing about the Mirama, yes, and making a point about it. but it might be that they put out poke. And if you look at Melody's response, Cowboy Sparrow, yeah, he talks about that, but I mean, what you could do if they attack you, as Rudolph just said. Yeah, all right, yeah.
Was there ever a case, did it reach the magistrate's court? I have not heard anything, read anything about that. Yeah.
No, I don't. I haven't seen anything about that. No.
What I do know is that Sparrow had a problem with a man in a race club. He went on the horses, and the man didn't want to pay up.
Had him up high. Had him up high.
Yeah, and Sparrow, Melody actually sings about that too. He mentions that incident also. But I am saying that it's not far-fetched for Calypsonians to take 2 or 3 incidents and put it in one song,
Yeah,
because
I agree.
But I'm saying that Sparrow is still wrong. Yeah, I mean, he's full of his faculties, and we could play it up with him. Ask him. That's
No.
That's a good point. I think we should have. I think somebody should bail the cat and ask Sparrow what these 15, 20 episodes in his life that people need clarification on, at least from his point of view.
Yeah. I am not too. Yeah, I am not too sure that he has it all. I've seen some videos with him, and he isn't there.
Not altogether there. Okay.
It's not there. He's very far out.
And
indeed.
As much as we like the accuracy of the information, I want to live with the mystery. It will take away something from me if we find out it's another place. And it's not
You don't want to lose the ATM Walker part of it.
Yeah, I don't want to lose that. I want to keep that.
I like that. It was definitely Mirama.
Yeah, Mirama. I mean, he has it all back there.
Anybody remembers what AGM Walker was famous for? A certain beverage that was very popular. I remember it very well. Anyone remembers?
Soft drink.
It was called CC Mel.
CC Mel, yes.
CC Mel, which was a kind of chocolatey drink in a can.
The predecessor of
Tony, it must be his grandson that told you that, right?
Yes. So, Charlo, what else you have there first, man?
All right. So,
on.
Yeah, let's play a song, man. The Gunslinger.
Selling guns nowadays. That's what really pays. Sparrow selling guns nowadays. That's what really pays. Nearly every young man is a gunslinger with a razor and a steel knuckle on the finger. Don't mind the dress in suit and bow tie. All of them looking for gun to buy. The talk is we young and strong. We afraid of soul and who think they bad to me? Them we more than we got we gun and partner we are making fun. If you're smart, clear the way. Or if you think you're bad, make your play.
We young and strong, we afraid of soul and tongue. Who think they bad, to lead them with more than that. We got me gun, and battle we are making fun. If you're smart, clear the way. Or if you think you're bad, make your play.
Well, if you don't believe me, wait and you will see. They coming down by the crates. From quite in the States, I have my contacts where they come from. I have my contacts in the custom. I have more contacts than I could tell. Now I want to contact a place to sell. Because we young and strong, we afraid of soul and who think they bad to me, them we more than love. We got we gun, and partner we are making fun. If you're smart, clear the way. Or if you think you're bad, make your play.
All right, yeah, the Gunslinger.
Yeah, Sparrow singing about fellas who bringing in the guns. I don't know who they were at that point in time. Only 10 years ago, then Prime Minister Patrick Manning said he knew who the Mr. Biggs were. Sparrow in his time said he was selling guns.
At I don't know if you see this, Tony, that when Sparrow talked about guns, he wasn't talking about the kind of pistol that fellas have nowadays, you know. Now, when the guns, when people had the knife and the razor, they used to call them guns.
Okay.
So most of the things he's thinking about, the Sparrow knew about the guns coming in on the States, but Trinidad had their own gun warfare, and he was using a knife and your pistol and your sharp razor, and all
the white handle razor.
The razor, you know, and to them the badge that was a gun to them.
Yeah.
And the younger,
you know what interesting when you talk about the white handle razor?
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall, that used to be, you used to get a white handle razor in a bucket of Tide.
Yeah.
Okay.
And rub garlic on it.
Yes. So when you buy a bucket of Tide, which again was a social status symbol, a symbol of status in the society, because people move from blue soap to Tide bucket.
Yeah.
And to get them to buy the Tide bucket, they put a white handle razor in it.
Yeah.
And that helped proliferate the whole scene of the violence in a way, because everyone ensured that they had the white handle razor. So it wasn't like they went looking for it. It was available through purchase of the Tide.
It also shows that Trinidad was always a violent society,
always a violent society. Yeah.
Violent society. We always had a violent society. Violent society didn't start with Fitzgerald Hines.
Yeah.
So when you see Fitzgerald Hines, they don't know what they're talking about.
And in that same calypso, he ends by saying, save your cash, a selling razor, a selling cutlass, sledgehammer, hatchet, even so, any kind of weapon that's good for war. I don't get my license ever since. Now I'm only waiting for violence. Come and buy from me. Don't be afraid. I sell it from cannon to razor blades. So that the armory is wide and broad.
Very, very wide. Trinidad was always a violent society. That's the point.
Of course, we moved from then to this era when you have the Matic. Empty the Matic.
Oh boy.
Interesting times.
Yep.
Yes. So let's move on again. More calypso, more Sparrow. Let's hear some more what you have there for us, Charles.
Drink and drunk, yes, guys, me and nail. Always make me family shame. Like Marianne all day, all night. A staggering high like a kite. It's Christmas, every day is Christmas. I could drink me rum, trust, till me belly burst. I love to be drunk and disorderly. Always in custody, with friends and my family. All man fed up with me cause I'm drunk and disorderly. Every weekend I in the jail, drunk and disorderly. Nobody to stand me there, hey. I can't stop, Lord, and I won't try. I feel so good when I high. So bring wine, bring beer, bring gin, bring champagne, ink, anything. Night time, daytime in the sunshine, anytime is right time. So drink me high wine until I get drunk and disorderly. Always in custody, my friends and family. All man fed up with me cause I'm drunk and disorderly. Every weekend I in the jail, drunk and disorderly. Nobody to stand me there.
Okay, we drunk and we disorderly. Every day is Christmas.
If my memory serves me well, this was one of the 8 road marches that Sparrow had over his career. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tony, I and Superior used to have a big argument over that.
Mm-hmm.
And Superior used to tell me how a big man like Sparrow, after you throw the world and you're saying you want to be drunk and disorderly, your bad behavior. And I just Superior say, Superior not singing about himself, and Superior couldn't see that. I say he's singing about he's describing a population, a behavioral pattern among the youths that they want to drink their wine and drink anything and get on and behave badly. He's not singing about himself. He doesn't want to be drunk and disorderly. He's trying to describe how the young people are behaving, the behavior of the people. That's what he's saying about. And Superior couldn't see that, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have a story about this. The first thing is that this is the first song that Joker Devines composed for Sparrow. And I know that because I interviewed Joker, and this is what he told me. And the song was about his own behavioral patterns. That he came from San Fernando. He was in a steel band in San Fernando, and he came into town. In fact, he had met a badjon called Bolong from town. Yes, Bolong told him, just come on Nelson Street and ask for Bolong. And that is what he did. And Bolong was with him. And he said Bolong had a club, or was a patron of a club somewhere in the Nelson Street area. And there is where Joker revealed that he has these songs. And Bolong took him to Sparrow. And Sparrow, I don't remember the figure exactly, but it was around $2,000 that Sparrow paid him for this song. And this was the first song that he composed for Sparrow. That is what Joker told me himself. So it's interesting that, and of course, when we're talking about Sparrow, we have to talk about composers who composed his songs. I heard of a fellow called Piggy Joseph. I didn't know him, or I have never encountered him or anything, but he was supposed to be a composer also.
Well, I am old enough. I am old enough to tell you about Piggy Joseph. Piggy composes another song. So.
Well, I knew Piggy from Chinapu Village. He lived in Chinapu Village, Mobile.
Yeah, Chinapu, yeah.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I knew him. A tall, brown skin, freckled face.
Was he kind of biggish fellow?
Fattish fellow. Yeah,
yes, yeah.
Big head. He loved all fours. I met him playing all fours in New York. And he gave me the whole story of all the songs he composed as Sparrow. You know.
Yeah. What period was that when he composed these songs?
50s, early 50s.
50s. Okay. Piggy never sang any of them himself, I presume.
He never sang. No, he wasn't a singer, he was a composer.
Okay. So this is a Sparrow, if you like, Sparrow entering the ages. I think Drunken Orderly was somewhere around 72, 73, somewhere around that.
72.
What we must also say is that although Piggy and them composed the Sparrow, there are a lot of songs that Sparrow refused, you know.
Yes.
Lots of songs that Sparrow refused. And one of them is because the Sparrow refused them because he said some of them are rhyme. Some of them are making sense, you know. Sparrow turned down other songs that Francine and them sing is songs that Sparrow refused. And there's a whole point in this category we must mention.
But as Tony mentioned, Winsford Devine sang Progress for Sparrow.
Progress,
Sparrow.
In 1979, and Sparrow turned him down, and he even offered it to Sparrow, and Sparrow turned.
Yeah. That's true. Joker also told me that it was for Sparrow, and Sparrow didn't want it, and so he turned to. It would have been interesting his interpretation of it. Another thing that Joker said to me was that Sparrow intervened in some of the compositions, both from the start, telling him the kind of song that he wanted, and when it was finished and brought to him, that Sparrow made changes. Sometimes, one or two words here and there, but sometimes there were some verses that he transformed completely to suit himself.
All right. Quite true.
Okay, Charlo, music time.
A song called Grenada.
I want to go back to Grenada to teach the Cubans how to fight. They let America take over, complaining about Reagan's might. Lord, I hear everywhere is only bombs in the town. People running helter-skelter, looking for a place to shelter. Señor, por favor, la manera que tengo mi corazón. Viva, viva, viva la revolución. Digo, if Cuba had arrested Gordon Austin, America wouldn't have excuse to come in. Llévame a Granada, llévame, llévame a Granada, llévame. Judas Lucifer and Jezebel mustn't get away. Where them psychomaniacs come from to create so much of a canal? Who open the insane asylum and make a lunatic general? Dust to dawn, curfew on, wrong or right, shoot on sight. Supported by construction workers with machine guns and rocket launchers. Señor, por favor, la manera que tengo mi corazón. Viva, viva, viva la revolución. But if Cuba had arrested Gordon Austin, America wouldn't have excuse to come in. Llévame a Granada, llévame, llévame a Granada, llévame. Austin Bernard and Bill Discord mustn't get away.
All right, Grenada.
Well, actually, this is the first time I've heard that calypso. I never heard it before, so I really can't say anything about it. Gentlemen, I never heard it before. It's never heard it.
His take on the 1983 Court
Revolution.
Revolution in Grenada, yeah, and that was his take on that whole situation. But what I like about it, and what he demonstrates again, is his command of languages. Because Sparrow song in French, Papimento, Dutch, Chinese, Spanish,
French.
Yes, and it's something we know that again. That's another topic for a whole day. That we
It has always struck me that his command of language, and you know, I am not a linguist myself, but he seems to have a real capacity for French and Spanish, the Creole. Sasaye and so on and so on.
And he's definitely not on the side of Gordon Austin.
Okay.
And when he said, and the rhythm in the calypso is a danceable calypso. He shows you again rendition, and he brings that dance spirit, etc.
It's a kind of Cuban salsa beat.
It's smooth in the lyrics, you know. Yeah.
Zeno.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought Queen of the Bands, I think that was 1971, whatever, the first Divines, first Joker song, Sparrow song, because that went on to, I think it won the Panorama and all. Anyway, this, as you asked...
No, but as I said, this is what Joker told me, that this
no, what I'm saying,
carried him.
Queen of the Bands precedes Young and Thoroughly, 71 to 72. It might have been. Anyway, but I just said Maestro, Merchant, Prince, GB, some of the other people, you know, who from Sparrow Air to give their words, kind of thing. Yeah. So
does that? Let me ask all of you the question, and we are coming down to the end of the program for today. Does that Sparrow did not compose all of his calypsos? I don't know what portion was composed outside of him. Does that take away from his ascension to the king of calypso?
Not at all, because when Sparrow gets compositions from Joker, and then he to fix it first sometimes.
Yes.
Many times, and I have heard him. Sparrow is a good extempo man. I've heard him extempo, etc. So Sparrow can compose And Sparrow's composed many songs of his own, you know. He doesn't. In fact, some of his godly songs, what he sing around his saintly songs, he composed all of them, you know. I'm good.
I would second emotion there, second shock does there. I think the point is Calypso is still, has always been, performing art. I mean, it's one thing to write a Calypso, but you have to go on stage. You have to go before the people. And even though Sparrow might only write 50% of the Calypsos, or whatever number, 40%, he had to put it out. And one of the things that Sparrow does is take a Calypso and make it his own. And I think he do that since with Piggy. Before he even get to my show and Calypso Prince and them, he was making the Calypso his own. So when you hear certain Calypsonians sing other people Calypso, you're hearing the man singing what you're hearing GB, the man singing what you're hearing Merchant, he's singing about, you know, when Sparrow sings, you're hearing Sparrow.
Yeah.
You have to go back and figure out, is that really yours? Yeah. And in some cases, I think Chocolates make a good point there. I don't have time to fix it. I mean, Jimmy had told me he had written line excuses for Sparrow. It wasn't totally true. He had completed it.
Yeah.
And you know, so Sparrow is like that. And Spangala had made a point to me with regards to this. Spang say, as we know, Devines wrote Margin. But Sparrow actually did Margin, cousin and Margin sister, because you give him a little opening. He punks on it.
Yeah.
And he go on. So for those two reasons, I totally agree with the professor. He's still the boss because he could perform them and he could shape them.
And Joker said that to me very openly, is that often when he gave us a Calypso to Sparrow, Sparrow would do quite a lot of work himself on the Calypso, change lines, etc., so that he wasn't simply singing anything that was put in his lap. So we are about to close off, but let me allow Dr. Otley to have his final statements.
Yeah, I think it does not take away anything from Sparrow singing other people's songs or whatever. I think what I note about it is that very early, Sparrow understood the business of Calypso and the business of music, and having to tour and make 14 albums a year, he couldn't do it on his own, and he fully accepted that notion that somebody else had to write. And I think when we look today at the successful artists in soca, most of them are followed that blueprint from the mighty Sparrow. Marshall Montano in particular. I mean, I don't think he has written one of his hits for the last 5 years. But because of the touring schedule doesn't allow that, and therefore you assign a writer and you can continue performing. And from about 58, Sparrow adopted that attitude of whereby getting people to write for him, crafting it the way he wants it, but focusing on the business of the Calypso, making money and performing at the same time.
But I think the point is Sparrow also recognized multiple writers mean multiple viewpoints, multiple melodic lines, so that the album doesn't sound one way. I think I'm almost sure that Shorty followed that pattern also when he started, you know, getting Calypso from other people and doing his own, and he would get from my show and so on to make sure there's variety. I think you correctly, you know, Sparrow had to do 2-3 albums a year. You have to get variety in addition.
You can
the number, the quantity is the quality, the variety of the songs, which of course is easier for Sparrow because he will sing anything and make it song. You sing a hymn and it's not like a lament, etc.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've only really scratched the surface of Sparrow, and that is why I have in mind, and I'm asking you to same time, same place tomorrow. Incidentally, that's a line from one of Sparrow's songs that just came in.
Same time, same place.
So if we reassemble tomorrow afternoon at the same time, 4:05, and we can go into, if you like, modern Sparrow of the 70s and 80s and beyond that. So thanks very much for coming this afternoon, and we look forward to tomorrow to continue with Slinger Francisco, the mighty Sparrow.
All right. Okay.
I want to go back to Grenada to teach the Cubans how to fight. They let America take over.
So people, this has been the Drivetime Exchange for today here on New Era TT Radio. Remember, you can join us at newerattradio.com.
People running,
and you can check our YouTube channel. So you can get the rerun of the program. And the rerun of this program will take place tomorrow morning at around 8:20 a.m. All right? Stick around. Coming up next, David Muhammad with the Black Agenda.
Judas Lucifer and Jezebel mustn't get away. Where them psychomaniacs come from to create so much of a canal? And make a lunatic general. Dust to dawn, curfew on, wrong or right, shoot on sight, supported by construction workers.
Wake up with the Nett Radio Breakfast Show. Rise and shine with Wendell Stevens and Richard Raghubarsing, weekdays from 6 o'clock to 9 a.m. Start your day feeling good, energized, and informed as we tackle the biggest issues of the day, get you where you need to be on time, and keep you in the know about everything that matters. We bring you insightful discussions, expert analysis, and the latest updates so you're always ahead of the curve. Mornings matter. Your voice matters. And it all starts right here on New Era TT Radio.